with some of the folks who work for Pixar at their Glendale studio where they make the Disney tunes. And the director of Planes was, he came by saying hi, I was sitting down. And he says, "You want to be in a movie?" I said, "Yeah."
That's the way to do it.
Just call me back.
So if you want to be in any of those films, just go have lunch at that studio. As dumb as it sounds, that's exactly what happened. I said, "Sure, yeah, I'm not doing anything too thick."
Who are your guys' media influences for voice? You know, past and present. It seems like just a market for it now for so many different actors. You know, and pretty good stuff out there also.
Well, I was heavily influenced by Carol Burnett. Peter Sellers is a huge influence for me. There was a lot of character actors back from my childhood. I'm very blessed that my father has a ridiculous sense of humor and also has the ability to do characters, even though he's a commander in the Canadian Navy.
Wow.
So he would watch character actors. So anything from the 60s and 70s, all those actors, all those TV shows, sketch comedy, there was a lot more variety TV, anything like that. I would just, Jack Lemmon, those actors really built who I am.
Yeah, probably as a kid, my favorite influences, my best influences were like Jonathan Winters, who was such a, I mean, I used to get his records and I'd run around, talking like Marty, and I would start learning the records and doing his routine and all his little weird voices, you know, and everything. And also Johnny Carson, who was, you know, just his timing was impeccable, and I practiced his voice as well. And when I got to Hollywood, I took classes from a guy, Dawes Butler, who was the great voiceover talent for Hanna-Barbera, did Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, about 40 other great classes. Voices, and he gave classes in his house, and you know, it cost like $10. And his real voice was, "I like Captain Crunch. He's come on over, Bill, and we'll raise some coffee." And I go to his house, and we just read. He was the one that really drove it home that you are an actor, not a voice. That the voice comes later. That the acting is most important. And like, you know, we had all sorts of great actors that came out of that class, Nancy Cartwright, Corey Burton, a lot of great people over the years. And, you know, yeah, he was a big influence on me.
Well, I would echo Bill's comments about Jonathan Winters, and all that, just because I thought the guy was, you know, incredible. In the way, you know, the way he would think, however that was. And of course, his offspring, in a manner of speaking, in my opinion, the man who we just lost, Robin Williams, and Johnny Carson as well. You know, from actors, I was always, as a kid, I was always a fan of Steve McQueen. And I think I liked his subtlety.
That explains everything.
That's it.
Yeah, even that Mustang you got part of.
I detailed it myself. But yeah, there was something about him that he became a bit of a hero of mine, I think, as a kid, and then getting older, just his acting style and the subtlety of his performances was something I tried to interpret in my own weird kind of way. That's my story.
Well, you're Steve. For me, it's just, I just met people in the neighborhood. I grew up, because as Ariel was talking, the first one was I had it at 5 years old. And the guy who ran a local grocery store, Teddy Jappo. And every time I walked in the store, he goes, "Zinsberger!" For whatever reason. You know, mother sent me down to the store, you know, grab whatever milk or something. And that was at a time, by the way, in America where you could send a 5-year-old down to the phone store by himself. was actually before the Miranda decision was made. Back then, you didn't have to read the guy the rights. The cops just got rid of him. But it was a wonderful world. I'm sorry you guys couldn't share it. Cliff was the character I did on Cheers was copied off of a local cop. In my neighborhood, he was the neighborhood cop. And even I remember even as a kid, 9, 10 years old, my bicycle was, so John, can I bring that bicycle over here? Let's have a little inspection, eh?
Nice.
Even at 10 years old, I thought, well, this guy is really a horse's ass. So I used to take him to the other kids to their glee, and that's pretty much where Cliff came from. So for me, it was just people in the neighborhood I just do, or sitting on a bus, or, you know, when I lived overseas, and, going to Scotland, some guy came up to me, I was stepping out of a taxi cab. He says, "Hey, Jimmy, United States Marines, you want to fight?" And I thought that was meant welcome to Glasgow. So I just get a kick out of it, just, the little adventures you get into in your life, and, something sticks with you. That's pretty much how I do it.
Thank you, great work.
So my question is also for Mr. Ratzenberger. I came to con from Boston, where Cliff is an icon on the same level as Fenway Park.
Yeah, I got stories there.
From Jersey, actually. I don't talk like that. But my question is, though, if you're known for a role in front of the camera, how does that influence acting, doing voice acting, and vice versa? As a one play into the other?
Good question.
Good question.
Thank you.
Well, apparently that's a good question. Thank you. I don't know. How does being in front of the camera affect being behind the camera?
Or being known. Or being known for a role.
Does it affect?
I don't think it affects. I don't know. I hadn't really thought of that.
Apparently it doesn't. You didn't know this. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, I got a very funny story about that Cheers bar that I'll tell you someday. No, it just takes, I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to take up your time. Huh?
Tell it.
So I go, all right, a few years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, I go to the Cheers bar. I'm in Boston. I said, yeah, I'm really never spend much time. So I go in there and I'm inundated. It's just, it's a mob scene. I was frightening. I had to leave because, hey, come here, all right, so I got out. So a few months later, I'm taking my daughter around, different spots to look at colleges. So we're in Boston, and we're near the Cheers bar. She says, "Dad, can we go, let's go to the Cheers bar." And I said, "No, honey, I can't explain to her what happened." I said, "I don't want to subject you to that stuff." So a few steps later, the voice in my head said, "You're such a jerk. This is your daughter. This is a pretty big deal for her. This is, and I go, okay. Yeah, honey, let's go to the Cheers bar." Really? Yeah. So we go to the Cheers, and the place is packed again. And I take a deep breath and I go, okay, nothing. It was like sagebrushes blowing. You can hear the crickets. Right? And I got to find, I had this cap on, it was autumn, and I took the cap off. And now I'm walking around the bar going, "Hey, you gonna finish those first guys?" And still nobody. People are reading going like, so you walk out of there, my daughter, she's laughing about it to this day. She says, "Oh yeah, Dad, you're a real big deal around." But that's the story. Yeah, no, I don't think of it until somebody mentions something. Oh yeah, I was there. But that's my story. I'm welcome.
Tiny little fun question for each of you. What do you think your probability would be of surviving a zombie or infection apocalypse?
Probability of surviving a zombie apocalypse? 0. I get a cold just riding out here on the plane, so I don't know a zombie.
You know, you may find this hard to believe, but I haven't given it a lot of thought.
Well, I'm an earthquake prepper.
Nice.
And I don't care about the zombies. I got ammunition, I'm a good shot. To me, it's just something else to do.
I have thought about this question. And I do keep a lot of really good first-person shooter gamers around me. So I feel with just the gaming community alone, we would dominate the zombie apocalypse. But worst case scenario, PCB Productions that does a lot of Atlas's video games, he's actually building a zombie bunker in the back of his house, so I'll be going to his house. If I can make it there from the beach.
Maybe you could just hire George Romero to fire them. You know, hire them all.
You know, and an argument could be made for anybody who's taken a walk down our surrounding streets in the last couple of days that we are in fact in the zombie.
I read somewhere you just string piano wire about this high off the ground. Because zombies can't pick the feet up, so they'll just trip over the wire and hit it. Baseball bat, I guess.
Thank you.
Because you've never seen these zombie dance troops.
Thriller.
That's it.
Alright, what voice that isn't necessarily your favorite, but have you enjoyed doing the most?
Oh gosh. One of my favorite voices that I've actually, it's a little lesser known Disney character, the Sheriff of Nottingham. I got to fill in. Because I love character actors, and that was originally voiced by Pat Buttram, who was, on Green Acres. And so occasionally I'll get to kind of do his voice. And it's a fun voice to do. He was great. Actually, Goofy movie was his last movie, and I got to talk with him. Little side story. I got to talk with him for about an hour and a half, and he was like waiting to go in. And he was 84, and he passed away just a few months after this. And he was like working on material on me. He was trying out jokes. And he actually did this joke. He was going to do that night. He was going to do a tribute for Jack Palance. He goes, Bill, I want to try a joke out on you. I'm going to go out there and say, you know, Jack, you're an amazing talent. You're like 80 years old, and you was out there on the Oscars and stuff and doing one-arm push-ups. And Father Time has been very kind to you, but Mother Nature done kicked the crap out of your face. 84, always going for it, always working on new stuff. That was, he's one of my favorites.
My favorite character to do all time isn't the one I've hired for a lot. It's actually not my character. I've been doing her since I was 3 years old for the 90-year-old lady next door who let me act out the entire movie. And it would be, who killed